Welcome back to Keeping Current with Kansas City. This is Abel from the KC Soccer Journal with me, as usual, Daniel Sperry from the KC Star. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad, a little tired, but that's also pretty damn normal at this point.
Yeah, that's life in the summer of soccer in Kansas City. I had we had a whole weekend off that, and I'm still exhausted at the end of Sunday. So,
Yeah, pretty much the same, man. It was good to actually not have to worry about any soccer for a couple days, but then potting and some other stuff just kind of takes up time. So,
well,
well,
and then you're working on like house projects and things like that that, were probably put off because of all the other weekends. So, and of course, quality time with family, cooking
yep.
meals, all that stuff. So,
I got to spend time with my daughter yesterday watching the U.S. women's national team in the Gold Cup game. So
Gold
that was
Cup
good.
game. Yeah.
Uh, all right. Let's see. We've finished the NWSL versus Liga MX Summer Cup. I think I missed something in there, but anyway, Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup. All right. Uh,
hmm
Current going to the final in the Summer Cup in the fall.
Yep.
Um, and in San Antonio.
hmm
What did we learn? Did we learn anything?
Um, I think we learned that this team is very deep and they can do a lot of really good things in a lot of really different ways. If you look at just the way the kind of the odd lineups they had to throw out throughout the group stage, they get a more competent game together against North Carolina. North Carolina is a very, very stingy defense. And even though they might be missing, a couple of key players out, still haven't seen Caroline in with that squad yet this year for a serious amount of time. The current winning that semifinal with a relatively regular group, minus Bia, really. And you know, I come away from it all still thinking about the fact that we haven't seen Nichelle Prince play very much with this team, and she just went on a pretty decent run with Canada at the Olympics. And you look at the way they performed, man. There's just a lot of depth over this. I think, since the last time we talked, they played Tigres in North Carolina. And in both of those games, they were comprehensively the better team. They have plugged in players out of position, in position, brand new players to the system, and it's just works. They are who they are. They did it in a couple of different ways, and it's just really impressive to see how complete this team is really. And there's still some of the best of the players on the roster we've yet to really see yet. So,
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, they've had to have four outside backs play the back line because
mhm,
they had no center backs. They had to
correct.
introduce Alana Cook in as the center back, who had very little time to get used to her teammates.
Mhm.
Uh, Stina coming back, just so many different combinations, so many different mixes in there. Uh, just it's been kind of fun. I think the Summer Cup was interesting to see all of that. I do wish they would have the final sometime in the next couple of weeks and not in October, but
Yeah.
uh, I think we kind of agree on the things that we learned. I don't know that we
Yeah.
really learned as much as more confirmed as much.
Yeah. I also, I mean, maybe one of the biggest takeaways so far from the Summer Cup is that Dabinia is now in form.
She is, and that should scare a few teams.
Sean Nahas said as much in the post-match of the game against North Carolina, talking about how there was some moments where he looked at his coaching staff and goes, "There's Deb," and that should scare the rest of the league if this team gets Dabinia firing any way, shape, or form, in the form that we have come to know Dabinia as to have. And
Yeah.
the prospect of that mixed in with Atemwa and Abia and everybody should scare the living daylights out of a lot of teams.
And he did make he pointed out that that was not the best of Dabinia yet.
Yet.
But he's seen the best of Dabinia, and as she was in this tournament so good, if you see the best of her, then yeah, nobody's going to stop her really. He didn't quite say that
Yeah.
words, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think of course, there's a lot of respect for Deb considering how many years she spent there. But It's just one of those things of like, I go back to the game against Orlando earlier in the year, and at this point feels like eons ago, and it was really just a little over a month ago. That game against Orlando, there's no Bia Zanerato, there's no Vanessa DiBernardo, and Debinha was a shell of the player that she was a month later. To be honest, to be quite honest, Debinha has not looked remotely close to the player that we saw come into form at the end of the Summer Cup. Even on the ball, dribbling tricks and stuff like that in the North Carolina game, it was back in as much as it's been this year. And I think like I go back to that Orlando game and it felt like when they were down the goal and even up a man, they had nothing to switch to. And the thought of like having all of those players in there, a healthy and firing Debinha and a Bia Zanerato that Temo Chawinga is making runs off of, and a Vanessa DiBernardo potentially in the midfield, that that was Orlando full strength versus not a full strength Kansas City. Come and looking back at it, and I think that is the question mark. Is like how I feel like we are, as I feel like we are still further. Maybe today we are still further away from realizing what the ceiling of this team might actually be than we are an understanding where their floor is, because I think their floor is pretty darn high. But like I genuinely don't know how high the ceiling is at this point with the team. And I don't mean to be like overzealous, but like these are some very, this isn't like, oh, you're hoping some rookie pans out. This is like, yeah, I'd really like Bia Zanerato to be healthy. And we've seen that she's one of the best chance creators in the league when she's healthy. And so, like, those are surefire things that we know. But we don't know because we've hardly seen any of it altogether.
Yeah. And they've proven that they can be very good with only one of their forwards healthy. They've proven they can be really, really good with two of them healthy. Now we got to see if we can get all of them healthy at the same time within all of the other options that Vlaco would have to play whatever other combinations or rest players or rotate players. You still have Michelle Cooper, Nichelle Prince, Kristen Hamilton, Alexa Spanstra. You still have all those other options that can do something and, maybe start different combination and then bring on a whole new line at 65 minutes in and wipe out a team. So he's got a lot of options there. One of my worries with Dabinia has been that she's quite often the person that people go to. And I was always concerned that how she would mix in with having other stars on the team and how that goes with a club team. And I think this is just kind of proved that it's still going pretty well, even with Timoa there. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Uh, so with her healthy, if we can get Bia back in a couple weeks, because I think we never got an official timeline, but it was like something like 6 to 8 weeks was kind of unofficial, I've heard.
Yeah.
So that should be a couple weeks away that we might start seeing her back in the lineup.
Hmm.
All right. Let's see. We saw the juggling of players. We saw Alana come in. We saw um, Ali Long come in and play some minutes.
And leave.
Yeah.
And leave.
Has she officially left?
She has not officially left, but she was not on the match day roster for the next match. So I think one can assume um, that she's out
Well, I
sooner
wasn't.
rather than later. Sooner
Well,
rather, okay. I'm just saying, yes, this is not official, but I would be shocked if she was not, if she stayed around or if
I
she's
have.
still even here.
Yeah, I have not seen anything. I have not asked that question. I know she technically signed a 1 year contract as an injury replacement, but nobody could ever say who is the injury replacement
I
for.
don't believe my understanding was that it was not a 1 year contract.
It's just the way it was listed on the site.
Yeah.
Uh, so again, not no confirmation. This is one of those that I think both of us will be working to find out sometime in the near future. I knew she wasn't in the roster. I just didn't want to assume that that meant she was gone. Could have been just not needed. All right. Speaking of new players, we have seen a goalie announcement coming in.
Hmm.
German goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Can you pronounce that name?
Uh, no.
Oh
Off
man.
is it Schultz?
Schulte?
I'm not. I might have like some German in me, but I do much better with Latin American names at this point because, I don't speak German. I barely speak Spanish, but
I
um,
barely speak English some days, so
so that's how it feels. Helmut Schult is my guess. There's no E. So, and Patrick Schulte is Schulte with an E at the end. There's no, there's no E after. So I don't know that I want to go just haphazardly throwing vowel sounds at the end of
no,
consonants that don't exist.
that's very fair. That's accurate.
No, that's my guess would be Helmut Schult.
Whichever way her name is pronounced, which I will try to learn. I do promise that. I don't promise that I'll get it accurate all the time, but I promise I will do my best. Veteran keeper, Germany, just very high level for them. Vlaco obviously had lots of nice things to say about her in the announcement, and we expect that she should be in soon.
Yeah. She was supposed to be available for the Women's Cup this weekend. So, um, yeah,
That's right. We'll see if she is available, if they've got
mhm.
her visa in, her ITC card. Do you know much about her?
S-
I've only seen a few highlights, quite
You
honestly.
know, outside of, I will say this, like, I mean, she has played. She was a starting goalkeeper for Germany during I believe, a gold medal run in the Olympics. She was a goalkeeper for Wolfsburg, which was the best team, essentially, in Germany and one of the best teams in Europe. Um, she played in three Champions League finals, winning one of them. So I think there's obviously to the pedigree and to the how do you say it, to the resume, the CV. Um, there is lots to like about the experience. Um, she has spent some time away in the last few years, due to having some children. Um, I also like look at Crystal Dunn had a child and came back and is one of the best players not only in the NWSL but in the world, and had a fantastic Olympics. Has had like 2 seasons back and is phenomenal. Schultz did play for Hamburg this year to get back and moving. She had looking at the CV, she had a quick stint with Angel City in 2022. Did not get a bunch of matches in that. Um, so I'm curious to see where her level is at and, kind of why she's being brought in. But ultimately, I think the pedigree is there. And if the ability and the quality is there or can to start and to be a better performer in net than AD has been thus far this season, or can push AD to be much better than she has been thus far, um, it's a worthwhile signing. So,
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday, and you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
having a goalkeeper who's never made an appearance in the league and a rookie draft pick that was not even a top 2 round draft pick goalkeeper be the keepers in house to quote unquote push AD French. I don't know actually pushed AD French as much as maybe she needed to.
Well, that was one problem with Cassie leaving.
Yeah, and I understand it too because what happens when you bring somebody in like that is they either overtake the number one or they want playing time elsewhere. And I get it for Cassie, and of course she got stuck in a crappy situation because she got signed to a place that said, "Oh, we needed a goalkeeper," and then they just kept on going out and getting goalkeepers. They signed like two goalkeepers with international pedigree since they signed Cassie. So, um, I just think in general, I like the move for what it is on paper. Um, and if it helps improve at this point, I mean, it's not that weak, but it is the weakest link of the Kansas City Currents teams so far has been the goalkeeping this year. And if it can help improve that, then great. Congrats. Job accomplished, right?
Yeah, well, I would say early on it was just defense in general, but that pretty much has solidified over time.
Correct.
Still can have some better moments, but that has definitely solidified. So yeah, it is that AD can be amazingly good, and also questionable at times, a little inconsistent at times.
Mm-hmm.
Love her as a player. Just it could definitely use either that pushing or somebody else to come in when she's not in form. Because I've felt a lot of times that she will be in really good form for a good portion of the season, and then a portion of the season she'll be not. I don't want to be too critical, but she
Yeah.
just won't be as in form and will let some things in that she shouldn't.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Um, all right, so let's see. In that move for Schultz, they also let Hope Heisey go. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but that was one of the side effects of that. So hopefully she lands somewhere. Actually, I wonder if she's winged to the USLW League or Super League rather.
Potentially.
I have it to look to see if she's been signed there. But they're
Yeah.
they're picking up a lot of players that have drifted off of NWSL rosters.
Hmm. I will say this, going back to our earlier conversation. Of all of their short-term signings that the Kansas City Current have made, only Janae DeFazio is still listed on their website on their roster. Everyone else has been either removed from that page or never added, but I would be shocked that they only added Janae DeFazio and not the others, especially Ali Long, at some point to the roster page on the team website. So the fact that Janae DeFazio is the only one left there might tell you a small story.
Well, I remember looking at the roster page and never seeing Ali on there, uh, but seeing all the other short-term signings. So
Yeah.
I'm just we will.
Well, now, well, of course, we have press availabilities tomorrow. So
Right.
we will, as listening, folks who are listening, you might already have found out via tweets from either of us these questions that we will eventually answer by the time you hear it. But we are recording on a Sunday with a press availability on Monday for the upcoming Women's Cup.
The Women's Cup. The Women's Cup. I think this is
Yes,
officially how it's called.
like like the Ohio State, it is the Women's Cup because it keeps getting abbreviated TWC
Yeah.
in emails. So
I keep thinking that's like some new cable channel I have, but
Time Warner Cable immediately, right there, for returning.
all right. It's an odd tournament in my opinion. It's little four-team groupings that are playing, and we were told when they made the announcement back in May that they were going to take the winners of these little four-team groupings and move on to a another tournament sometime in the future, which these are invitational tournaments, so they're not, it's kind of like a Club World Cup, but it's not. It's an invitational tournament. It's just another opportunity to play games.
And make money. But yes,
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll be upset if we just call it a money grab, but as much people complain about Leagues Cup being a money grab, this is a money grab. So,
there is no competitive merit to qualifying for this tournament.
right.
Let's just say.
The Current, who was
Um,
terrible last year, is in this tournament. Atletico Madrid, who's in this tournament, finished third in their
Hmm.
league last year. I'm not sure where Kobe or the Almody, is it Almody?
Mamelodi.
Mamelodi.
There you go.
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure where they finished. I was trying to look that up a little bit ago.
Yep. Um, it's going to be interesting. I would say think there's some intrigue for the soccer junkies. I think it'll be fun. There should be some fun soccer. Um, in a way, this reminds me of like covering She Believes Cups when they come to Kansas City, or I have as you have experienced that having gone somewhere to a She Believes Cup. Everyone really cares about the team, the USA game later in the evening, but my very first She Believes Cup experience was a USA Japan match in the evening with a Australia Brazil match in the afternoon.
Yep.
And Sam Kerr and I mean, now rosters will not be that star-studded necessarily, but I do think there's going to be some really interesting soccer played in here. You've got some teams that kind of want to show off um, and kind of capture some eyes, so it should be really interesting.
Yeah, again, I've had this discussion with a lot of people. People complain about Leagues Cup for the MLS side and the Summer Cup even on the NWSL side. I like soccer. I like watching soccer. I like shooting soccer. I enjoy games and I enjoy games in person and live more than I enjoy watching games on TV. So I'm going to enjoy watching these games. They're just not going to
Yeah,
mean a lot to me.
yeah, that's understandable.
I will scour the rosters for the opponent, the other three teams here, and see if there's anybody who I think will eventually make it to NWSL or to a national team, and I will try to get a few extra photos of those particular players. But other than that, I'm just going to kind of enjoy it. Uh,
Yeah,
in the in the Summer Cup the other day, I just enjoyed going and seeing Angel City and seeing uh, Kristen Press come off the bench for a couple minutes, things like that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had not really taken the opportunity yet to watch a game from the stands in the in old CPKC and the Women's Cup, or not the Women's Cup, the Summer Cup. That game against Angel City and Gotham, we went and found some empty seats down in front of the press box and took in a game from a different angle for once, and quite enjoyable. Live soccer is always fun.
Yeah. You and PJ were kind of stalking me there for a little bit, but
Stalking is a strong word to use for pestering, but yes.
hey, in the process, I got you to admit that you were pestering me, so I think it worked.
It wasn't intentionally pestering you, but it was funny because I sat down and PJ immediately yells, "Hey, Dad!" And I looked down and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad's right here. This is great."
Yeah.
We did not select the seats to purposefully pester you, but once we found out we could, we did.
I just appreciate you didn't throw things at me.
Well, that would have gotten us kicked out and our credentials revoked. We still had jobs to do later. So that's not happening.
I'm not totally sure PJ wouldn't have done it though if the thought had crossed his mind, I'll be honest. You, I think, would have been not so much, but yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I get it. I like going to games that are a little bit unusual. It's fun to be able, for me personally, it's fun to be able to be down on the field and shoot games. It's, but it's also nice to have something different. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
as much as I like shooting and stuff like that, shooting sporting, shooting the current feels like work because it is to a certain extent, but I still enjoy it. But just having different things to shoot also enjoy seeing different players, different teams.
yeah,
I kind of enjoy it. So
yeah.
that's to me, that's the biggest worth of quite honestly going to the Women's Cup is it'll be some different teams and some different combinations, and we'll see probably Vlaco throw out a little bit different of a lineup to test some players. Maybe Nichelle will get in there.
Hmm.
I think he's probably gonna be seeking and finding if who's going to be doing what when Claire Hutton's called up.
Hmm.
Uh, Speaking of Claire Jr., I don't know if last time we talked, we really talked about Claire Senior, Claire Lavoie.
Yes, Claire Lavoie. Um, she's gone.
By
She
her
will be
own
gone,
decision.
seemingly by her own decision. Yes. We will see where she ends up going. But oddly, in front of, she announced before her final match, much to the surprise of seemingly a lot of people, that match would be her last. That game against Tigres was the last time we'll see Miss Lavoie in Kansas City, at least assuming that this might be one of the last times we see Lavoie in Kansas City. Who knows whether or not her next club wants to come partake in the Women's Cup in a future date, or she ends up back in the league in some way, shape, or form. But seemingly she's on her way out to a destination unknown. Um, I believe there was a fan that ran into her in a quick trip, and the fan said that she told her she was going to Spain. So might uh, I might be interested to see where she ends up landing. But hopefully, I will say this. After as weird as the situation was, having a player announce their departure before a deal officially being done and a club being prepared to announce the player's departure, it was cool to see a player get a proper send off, considering how many so unceremoniously over the last couple of years did not get that send off. So,
Yeah, very, very true. That's it's one of the failings of how some of this works. The way it works so often is it would be nice to be able to have a player, if nothing else, step on for a couple minutes at the end of a game to get a proper applause, or get subbed off a couple minutes before the end of a game to get a proper applause
mhm.
from fans. So it's nice to see that. It's something I wish would have happened for quite a few players for Sporting and some players for the Current, but we
Yeah,
don't have control of that. And I do understand why coaches don't always make that the priority, but sometimes I wish they
correct.
would.
Yeah. So Lavoisier will be on her way out um, officially at some point. Um, Curious, considering when the window closes, if they try and replace her. So, um,
Which, we were talking about players earlier being on the team roster. Claire is still there,
Claire is still there because she has not officially been removed.
released. Yes.
Transferred, released, however they're going to do it.
All right. I think we've covered most of the current related activities at the moment.
Correct.
Um, um, what do you think of the women winning the gold at the Olympics?
Um, Phenomenal. I'll say this. I think all along that the team that went to the World Cup last year, um, they were either going to do what they did in this tournament and, buckle down and win it all, or they were going to have an early exit because they were young and there was a lot of young players that needed an opportunity to make their mark. And questions, you can say whatever you want about Vlatko's coaching, um, the health of that team, and the confidence on the world stage of that team uh, was a significant difference uh, this summer compared to last for me. Um, and particularly in the fact that the person who scored the game-winning goal in the gold medal match literally was physically unable to play in the World Cup last time around. Rose Lavelle, who was phenomenal in the midfield for most of the tournament, I know didn't play much, if at all, in that gold medal match. Um, you know, she was injured for a majority of that. And we were still relying on Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe in games. And you can talk about team selection from Blacko. You can talk about all of that, however you want. Um, to see the front three of Sophia Trinity and Mallory Swanson uh, help lead this team in various ways over, Trinity gets the winner against Japan. Sophia gets the winner against Germany, and Mal gets the winner against Brazil. Um, that's what you wanted to see. That's what you hope to see in the future going forward. And hopefully, we won't be making as much noise about a striker who's scored 0 goals in the NWSL this year not being on the roster, and be celebrating the people who are on the roster that are very, very good, top to bottom. I'm really impressed with Emma Hayes. I'm impressed with these young stars that had a crushing World Cup last time around, and in the next summer, very quickly bounce back to the top like we have expected out of the women's national team. And I think that bodes very well for the future.
It does. Again, the entire world is caught up. I don't want to say the entire world's caught up. A lot of teams are very close to the peer of the U.S. at this point. Even in that game, Brazil was the better team for good chunks of that game. And if it
Hmm.
wasn't for Alyssa Nair, they could have been down a goal or two. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for a couple inches here and there offside, they could have been down a goal. Uh,
Hmm.
okay, probably more than a couple inches, but you know what I mean. It still is a very, very narrow line between the success and the loss at that level,
It's a
even for them.
finer, yeah, it's a finer line for sure. But the ability to do it, once you've done it, you know how to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing for me with them is like the process of young players learning how to win, and the fact that they bounced back from the loss, the crushing World Cup losses so well over the last year in penalty shootouts, in the Gold Cup and the She Believes Cup. In those moments, that team has bounced back, and in the gold medal match, they probably got outplayed a little bit, and uh, they still found a way to win. Like those are the things that like you can't you can't teach teams how to win. They have to go learn how to win. And especially young players, and to see them do that at the international stage was very impressive.
Yeah. And kudos to Brazil. They played a great game.
Correct.
Uh,
And Lauren,
right.
Lauren was phenomenal.
She was
Gets a
very
silver
good.
medal.
Yep. So
Had a
it's
good tournament.
nice to have a, silver medal coming back
Yes.
to Kansas City, at least for now.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm I don't want to be mean, but I'm glad to see Marta in her last international game, quite honestly.
We'll see.
All due respect to her ability and skill and longevity and all the things she's done.
Yes.
Not a fan of her personally for several different occasions. But anyway, kudos to what she's done for soccer and congrats to Brazil.
Hmm.
All right. Any
USA, USA, USA.
yeah, any last words? Any thoughts? Any
None other than looking forward to some fun soccer at CPKC twice this week. If you're out at the matches, hit me up on X. I will come say hello because there's 2 matches. I got plenty of time. So yes, be fun to meet people, meet some listeners, say hello. So yeah,
Yeah. So not quite as much time between the games though as the Summer
no,
Cup was. So it's 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock on Wednesday, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock on Saturday.
correct.
At least we won't have any conflicts on that day. All right. Appreciate the time, and we are out.